Students learn at a very early age that they only have two options, and I think that's a huge problem in schools, and I think it's very limiting for our youth. And so we need to really advocate for gender complex education in the classrooms.
First of all, they could actually talk about it. Like, nobody ever said anything about, like, I don't know, like, we had meetings about being tolerant of, like, other racial groups and things like that, but, like, nobody ever even talked about, you know, queer people at all. And so people didn't really know what to think, or, like, but, I mean, I guess that's why I'm lucky that people reacted really positively. So they were just like, oh, that's kind of weird, but okay, that's cool. But, no, I mean, I guess they could just have, like, better programs and be more aware and make sure that the students are aware. But that also requires the students to be really active too, like, and actually, like, be out and let people know who they are. They could not tell kids they don't know what they're talking about. Like, that's just silly. It's like, why would I be here if I wasn't serious? Like, that was really my biggest issue, is just getting people to take you seriously, because people don't take kids seriously. Like, especially even in high school. Like, you're definitely not quite an adult, but you're old enough to know what you're talking about.
If there's a way to not teach kids the gender power system, I don't know how you could do that in anywhere on Earth today. I don't know how you could. Like, for my brother to not be harassed, for me not to be asked those weird questions, you would have to have a belief system where gender isn't constructed, so they wouldn't wonder when I was in class, like, oh, why you always cross, like, your legs? Why you always sitting like a girl? Doesn't that hurt? I'm just like, no. If you ever tried to cross your legs while sitting down, it's not a problem. And there's people, like, those are some things, like, they would say, and I feel like if people knew there were options to this whole gender thing, like, it wouldn't suck so much. Just talking about it, probably in sex ed would be a great place to talk about stuff like this, because, you know, if we're going to talk about how babies are made, then we could also talk about how, like, it's supposed to be sex ed, and sex doesn't have to be penis vagina, you know, it can be all sorts of things. So I think that would be a good place to talk about the LGBTQ community.
Being allowed to play sports, not having to undress in front of girls, you know, it's everything that I went through, but on the other side of the fence. The kids at the school were young, so the staff sets the tone and, you know, how things are supposed to be, and they follow that, regardless of how the school is. It's because of the staff. And there's a reason why, you know, some schools, it's really strict, and the students follow that. There's not a lot. Things do go on outside of school, but inside of school, where you spend 9 hours out the day, or however long you spend out the day, you should be able to be safe. You shouldn't have to worry about going from class to class, somebody bothering you, and teachers just letting that happen. It would be cool, like, if the student body, or some people want to have a GSA, a Gay Straight Alliance, in their school, I think it shouldn't be, especially in a public school, I don't think it should be any issues at all. Because clubs are for the student body, and if there is a need for it, and there are people who want it, they should have it, so that you can embrace the diversity of the student body, opposed to alienating groups of people just because they're not in the mainstream.
I think it's important for educators to know that they're protected by the law. I mean, you know, their job is to protect all students, and there are there is legislation out there that protects transgender students. If you look at Title IX, for instance, if you look at the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, if you look at the First Amendment, all of those things protect transgender students in schools. And then when it comes to forming a gay-straight alliance, or if you want to be more inclusive, a queer-straight alliance, there is the Federal Equal Access Act, which also protects educators as sponsors if they choose to sponsor the group.
The best thing would be to support. If there is a transgender youth at your school and they want to express that and be themselves, I think they should be allowed to do that, and the staff should support that.
I think one of the things that's been important to all three of us is we have participated in advocacy and activism around transgender, queer, and questioning issues. And now, Corey, you've done that on the University of Georgia's campus. I work a lot with transgender youth, between the ages of 10 and 24. So I bring that perspective, and I know, SJ, you've been working in the community for a while, running a support group.
And what I think is amazing about that is we have a social responsibility. You and I were talking in the hallway that if the youth are going to stand up for themselves, then we need adult role models to do that. And what better people than people in the school system where the youth interact with them every day. Mm-hmm. Collective memory work is participatory action research. It invites the participants in to share their stories so that we keep their stories at the center of the conversation as opposed to at the margins where many of their lives have been up to this point. And it says, share with us your positive and negative experiences so that we can respond, so that we can understand, so we can act on your behalf. And you can act and are empowered by participating in the process. And I think that's what we have really valued about collective memory work. And it's something you can do in your own school. If you decided that you wanted to see what the climate was in your school, engage in a participatory action research model like collective memory work. Ask youth to write about positive and negative memories that have occurred in your school system and take a look at what that data shows, and then take action.
Mm-hmm. And I love that you introduced us to this research methodology because it is connected to action. It takes the stories that have happened. They're not fictions. These are real stories, and uses them to make change. And so I like what you're saying about it can be easily adopted into any school, even as a part of coursework, and really getting interested in what are the experiences of folks in schools.
This is where we are. In the world today, people need to understand that where we exist. We're here. We've been here a long time. If you look back in the history, the her story, and the T story, there's always been people like